Dead On with Randy Ulmer.
Back when I started shooting competitively years ago, we were using round wheel bows, and the force draw curve on these bows were nice gentle slope on the upside, nice gentle slope on the downside, and you had a big wide valley that wasn't very deep because they were only 50% let off. And it's a lot different now because we have these speed wheels, which are great because they're fast, but their force draw curve is pretty much straight up, straight across, and straight down, and they're not as forgiving. And back when I was shooting these round wheel bows, I was taught to hold in the middle of the valley. And the valley was so wide that even if you crept forward a 1/4 inch or drew a 1/4 inch too far back, the arrow would still hit where you were aiming. But with the fast bows we're shooting nowadays, the valley is really narrow and really deep. It kind of looks like a chasm when you look at it on the force draw curve. Unfortunately, when you're shooting these bows, you have to be in exactly the same place in the valley to shoot consistently. And most of us aren't sensitive enough to tell exactly where we are in the valley. So it turns out that the best place to be is back against the wall hard. The high let off of today's bows makes the situation even worse. These bows seem to hold better, but they're less forgiving than a bow with more holding weight, and that's because they're easier to torque and manipulate at full draw than the same bow with less let off. So these bows hold steadier, but they group worse. And in hunting situations, the increased hold time is usually more than worth the trade-off. This type of cam has always been tough for me to shoot because I'm a relaxation shooter, which means I like to relax everything as I shoot, and so I tend to creep off the stops. And with almost every bow I've shot over the last 15 years, and that includes pretty much every brand, if I creep into the middle of the valley, or worse yet, to the front of the valley, I'm going to miss high. Now I found that the most consistent place for me to be at full draw with these speed bows is hard against the stops, and I do that by maintaining my back tension. If I don't, I end up getting high arrows. So if you're shooting and you're finding you're getting high arrows and you can't explain why, and it only happens once in a while, you're probably creeping a little bit. So what you need to do is, again, pull hard against the stops, and do that by maintaining your back tension.